Allison Tiemann is a men's rights activist with the Honey Badgers, a well-known group that bring men's issues to the table that have a pretty big following. Like many of the Honey Badgers, Allison is also an artist, and she's the creator of the popular Xenospora webcomic. So why wouldn't she be interested in setting up a booth with some of her fellow Badgers to display her work at Calgary Comic Con? The group ended up raising $9 grand to set up an intricate booth that Tiemann, who's also an installation artist, put a ton of effort into. They had a Gamergate logo on their banner to support freedom of expression, and if you're a normie like me, listen to how Allison describes Gamergate here.
Gamergate came about because there was a lot of anger towards the gaming press. And even before Gamergate started, there's just collusion. There's just paid advertisement dressed up as reviews, stuff like that. Unethical journalistic practices in game reviews. It ended up being a flashpoint, really. Before it was disgruntlement over all of this collusion, dishonest reviews, stuff like that. And then this individual essentially had relationships with people who were reviewing their work, and they were undisclosed. It doesn't matter if they were sexual relationships or if they were personal relationships. There was an intimacy there, an emotional intimacy there that was undisclosed, and these people would review this individual's games and give them very good reviews. And they did not like that. The ethical practices, they considered that to be unethical. And that was the flashpoint. And really what made the crucible was the fact that the media, so the games media, sort of grabbed around on this and said, instead of this being an issue of ethics, that this individual needed to when someone was reviewing their work, they should explain the relationships that were involved that could be compromising their opinion. Instead of that, they said that this individual was targeted due to misogyny, and they held to that line, and woman hating and all of this other stuff. And that's really where the feminism comes in, because it was used as a blunt force tool to silence opposition to this unethical journalist practices.
On the first day, there were no issues, but things went sour after Allison spoke up during a Women in Comics panel. I'm going to play you a clip of the exchange, but I've linked to the rest in the text of this story simply because it's a really long exchange. But have a listen to a sample here.
But at what point did all of a sudden did it become a dirty thing for women to be into this stuff? Like, in the eyes of so many of these men's rights activist types, or...
Would you like us to field that question?
Huh?
Would you like us to field that question?
Sure, go for it.
Because I am a men's rights activist, so you can hate on me. The reason why I don't like feminism is because you promote this idea that women are defined by being victims. If you look at the context of all of your issues, men also face considerable problems as well. And they need to be brought into the story, and not just for men's sake, because this hides men's vulnerability, also for the sake of challenging the notion that women are defined as victims.
Tiemann was polite, engaged in civil debate, and even asked permission to field the question, which was granted. So what happened next was unthinkable at the time. The Honey Badgers were told that they received 25 complaints of harassment at the panel event. A web magazine, the Mary Sue, dedicated to geek girl culture, their words, published an article suggesting that the group planned to infiltrate the panels, which the Honey Badgers deny. The Calgary Comic Con account then tweeted that article out, apparently citing it as the reason for what Allison explains happened next.
I got to our booth, and Shane Hinkleman, the operations manager for the Calgary Expo, approached us and said, "You're out. Go." And you got to be out by the time doors open, so we had 10, 15 minutes to get everything packed up and out. Then Shane Hinkleman told me that there was a bunch of tweets that people had complained on Twitter, and that I had harassed people at the panel, and that's why I had to go.
So they got kicked out, apparently for not following the rules and for explaining why she doesn't agree with feminism, which brings us to today. Allison also tells me that the Honey Badgers decided to take the issue to court, where they want their day to push back against their treatment at the event, and so that this doesn't happen to anyone again. Here, she updates me on that process.
We ended up deciding on suing the Calgary Expo and the Mary Sue based on sort of an analysis of my resources and also where we would have the quickest trial. The Calgary Expo and the Mary Sue's lawyer brought a petition for summary judgment, or an application for summary judgment. And a summary judgment is essentially saying dismissing the case because it doesn't have merit. In this case, that's what it would be. So they wanted the judge to dismiss the case as having no merit. The judge didn't. The judge said, yes, the case has merit and should proceed to trial on those grounds.
So this case will be heard in a court of law, which Teeman tells me will happen in November of this year, which sounds pretty far away, but for a case like this, it's actually pretty quick. And I also asked her what she hopes to gain out of the whole ordeal.
I am hoping to gain protection for creators. I don't want individuals who have control over these marketplaces creating echo chambers where creators have no ability to speak outside of the party line. That's what I want to create. I want to make sure that creators are free and unfettered and are able to explore whatever they want. So I want to uphold freedom of speech, but I also want to protect my fellow creators.
And all of this just for what it seems speaking politely against feminism and having an amicable discussion within a group of people that just have different ideas. Of course, I'll continue to follow this story as it unfolds and update you with new information. And if you're into men's rights or even want to look into some of the topics in this video, you can find more at honeybadgerbrigade.com. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks for watching. If you like our free content, you'll love our full-length shows. For only $8 a month, you get access to all of our content as a premium member. Click the link to the side to see what option works best for you.